The desperate purchase captain Joran walked through the market of the remote space station with heavy steps. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and old metal. Traders shouted, selling spare parts, fake fuel, and cheap food. Joran ignored most of it. His pocket was almost empty. He had only a handful of credits left, the last money he owned. He should have been thinking about food. He should have been looking for fuel cells for his ship. But his eyes stopped on something strange at the far end of the market. Behind a dirty glass case half covered by a torn cloth, there was a cryogenic pod. The machine hummed weakly, lights flickering as if it had been forgotten for years. Inside the frozen glass lay a woman. She was not human, not fully. Her skin was pale, almost glowing faint blue, and faint patterns curled across her arms like silver vines. Her long hair floated slightly in the cold mist. Her eyes were closed, but her face looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, as if she was just asleep. Above the pod, a crude sign read, "Scrap, 50 credits. Take or leave." Joran felt his chest tighten. Scrap? Was that what they called her? The merchant noticed his stare and walked over. "Worthless thing," he said with a laugh. "Pod's failing. She'll thaw out dead if you take her. Better to strip it for parts." Joran frowned. "Who is she?" The man shrugged. "Does it matter? Some rich collector lost interest. I bought the pod cheap. Now I sell it cheaper. Maybe you want the metal, maybe you want the body. Doesn't matter to me." Joran's fists clenched. He had seen many cruel things in his life. Slavery, wars, pirates stripping ships for blood. But something about this made his stomach twist. A living being, frozen, abandoned, and now sold like trash. He checked his wrist screen. His last credits blinked back at him. He had just enough. But if he spent them here, he would have nothing left for food or fuel. He might starve in space. His ship might drift cold and silent in the void, yet he could not move away. His eyes kept going back to the alien woman in the pod. She looked fragile, alone, helpless. And something inside him whispered, "She is not scrap." "She matters," the merchant smirked. "You want it? Make up your mind, traveler. I don't have all day." Joran looked again at his credits. He thought of the long, empty nights in his ship, sitting alone with only the sound of engines for company. He thought of how hollow his life had become, how he had been drifting from job to job, from world to world, without purpose. And then he thought of her, frozen, waiting. He didn't even remember pressing the button to transfer his credits. The screen beeped, confirming the purchase. His last credits were gone. The merchant chuckled. "Your loss." He handed Joran a bundle of folded cloth. "Clothes. She'll need them if she wakes. If not, you can wrap her for burial. Doesn't matter either way." Joran didn't answer. He placed the clothes carefully on top of the pod, then activated the release locks. The machine hissed as it disconnected from the seller's stall. With slow effort, Joran dragged the pod across the floor. People in the market laughed at him, some pointing, some whispering. Look at him. Spent his last money on a corpse. Foolish traveler. He'll starve. Maybe he just wanted company for the grave. Joran ignored them. Step by step, he pulled the pod through the market, down the rusted hallways, toward the docking bay where his small ship waited. The pod was heavy, and sweat covered his brow, but he did not stop. The alien woman's face stayed calm behind the frozen glass. Her faint patterns glowed softly as if mocking the darkness around them. At last, Joran reached his ship. The door slid open with a tired groan. Inside, everything smelled of old engines and recycled air. His ship was no palace. It was a broken, patched vessel, held together by more hope than metal. But it was home. He wheeled the pod inside and locked the hatch. For a long moment, he just stood there, staring at her. "Why did I do this?" he whispered. "Why did I throw away my last credits for you?" The frozen woman gave no answer. Joran set the clothes on a nearby chair and sat down across from the pod. His heart beat slow and heavy. He had made his choice. Now he had nothing left, no food, no money, no safety. But as he watched the pale figure inside the glass, he felt something he had not felt in years. Not fear, not regret. Hope. The pod hummed softly, like a heartbeat waiting to be heard, and Captain Joran, for the first time in a long time, was not alone. The awakening. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Captain Joran sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes fixed on the pod in the middle of the cargo bay. He had carried it all the way from the station, spent his last credits, and now, nothing. The alien woman still lay frozen inside. Her skin glowed faint blue in the mist, the patterns across her arms shining faintly like hidden constellations. The pod's glass was cracked along one corner, frost spreading like spiderweb veins. Joran tapped the controls on the side of the pod. The display flickered. The cryo system was old, broken, running on borrowed time. Numbers flashed red. Damn, he muttered. If I don't wake her now, the pod will fail anyway. He hesitated. Waking her meant risk. He didn't know who she was, what she could do, or if she would even survive. But leaving her frozen was no choice at all. He had already decided when he gave away his last credits. He pressed the override. The pod hissed. Steam curled into the air, filling the room with cold mist. Lights along the edge blinked weakly as the machine released its hold. Joran stepped back, heart racing. The frost on the glass began to melt. The woman's chest rose faintly, then again, deeper. Her fingers twitched. The silver patterns across her skin pulsed, alive now like veins of light. Joran swallowed. He wanted to say something, but his throat was dry. He stood frozen, waiting. Her eyes snapped open. They were not human eyes. They glowed golden, sharp, and piercing like molten metal. She gasped, pulling in air as if drowning. The pod door slid open, releasing a rush of cold vapor. She sat up fast, her hair falling like dark silk around her shoulders. Her eyes darted around the room, wild, searching for danger. Then they locked on him. Joran raised his hand slowly. It's okay. You're safe. She tilted her head, her breath uneven. No words came from her lips. Only silence, tense and heavy. I'm Joran, he said, voice steady, though his heart pounded. Captain of this ship. I found you. I brought you aboard. Her gaze flicked down to the folded bundle of clothes he had placed near the pod. She reached out almost suspiciously and touched the fabric. Then with slow, careful movements, she wrapped herself in it. For the first time, her face softened. Just slightly, Joran exhaled. Good, that's better. Still, she did not speak. She only watched him, golden eyes unblinking, studying him as if weighing his soul. The silence stretched. Joran felt the weight of her stare. He scratched the back of his neck. Look, I don't know who you are, or why someone left you to rot in that pod, but you're alive now. That's what matters. Her lips parted, but the sound that came was broken, strange. Alive? Joran froze. The voice was soft, musical, but heavy with pain. She touched her chest as if testing her own heartbeat. Then her eyes narrowed, suspicious again. Why? She whispered, the word trembling and fractured. Why what? Her hand swept toward the pod, toward the bundle of cloth, toward him. Why, save. Joran had no answer ready. He could have said it was pity. He could have said it was madness. But the truth was harder. He didn't even know himself. Because no one else would, he said finally. Her eyes lingered on him, unreadable. Then, without another word, she slid off the pod and stood barefoot on the metal floor. She was unsteady, weak from years of cold sleep, but she did not fall. Her patterns glowed brighter now, faint light shimmering like fireflies under her skin. Joran stepped closer but stopped when she stiffened. Easy, he said gently. You're safe here. You don't need to be afraid. Her golden eyes softened for the first time, though only for a second. But then a sharp alarm beeped from the ship's console. Joran turned his head, frowning. The navigation screen blinked. A faint signal had been detected. A beacon, weak but deliberate, he muttered under his breath. Distress call? Out here? The alien woman's head snapped toward the sound. Her entire body tensed. She whispered something in her language, sharp and fast, words Joran couldn't understand. Then slowly, she spoke in broken human speech again. Her voice was low, shaking with fear. No, not distress. Not safe. Joran's chest tightened. What do you mean? Her glowing eyes locked on him, and for the first time since she woke, he saw true fear in them. They come, she said, her voice cracking. They come. For me. The words hung in the air like a blade. Joran stared at her, the cold weight of realization sinking in. Whoever she was, she hadn't just been forgotten in that pod. She had been hidden, or hunted. And now, by saving her, he had just painted a target on himself, the silent passenger. The warning signal faded, but the tension it left behind filled the ship like a shadow. Captain Joran sat at the controls, staring at the blinking scanner, then back at the alien woman. She stood in the corner of the cargo bay, wrapped in the clothes he had given her, glowing patterns on her arms faint like dying starlight. She said nothing more. Her golden eyes just followed every move he made. Joran rubbed his face with both hands. All right, he muttered. If they're coming, I need to know who they are, and why they're after you. The woman tilted her head but gave no answer. You understand me, Joran pressed. I heard you before. You can speak. So talk. Still silence. She sat down slowly, folding her legs under her. Her gaze dropped to the floor as if she was hiding secrets even from herself. Joran felt frustration rise in him, but also something else. Pity. She looked tired, fragile, almost broken. Fine, he said. Keep your secrets. But understand this. If I'm flying blind, we'll both die when those hunters arrive. He turned back to the ship's systems, trying to focus. His fuel was low. His rations were nearly gone. His ship was too old to outrun anyone for long. And now he had a passenger who said nothing, did nothing but stare at him with those glowing eyes. The silence pressed on him. For hours, only the hum of the engines and the faint clicks of controls filled the air. Joran talked anyway, just to hear a voice. He told her about his ship, the Wraith's Echo. He told her about the jobs he had taken, hauling scrap, dodging pirates, losing more friends than he cared to count. He even told her about the time he almost froze to death drifting near Saturn's rings, saved only by sheer luck and a passing freighter. The woman did not respond. She simply listened, her head tilted slightly, eyes unblinking. Joran laughed once, bitter and soft. Figures. I've had more conversation with a frozen pod than I'm having now. He pushed himself up and went to check the storage compartment. There was barely a box of dried ration bars left. Enough for him for maybe 3 days if he stretched them. If he shared with her, even less. When he returned, he found her standing by the ship's console. She wasn't touching anything, just staring at the blinking lights and faint holograms. Her glowing patterns pulsed brighter as if reacting to the ship itself. Don't touch that, Joran said quickly, stepping closer. She turned to him, her eyes catching the dim light. For a second, he thought she might finally speak. But instead, she stepped back and lowered her gaze. Silent again, Joran exhaled slowly. He felt torn in two. She was a mystery that could kill him. Yet he couldn't bring himself to regret pulling her from that pod. That night, if night meant anything in the endless dark of space, Joran sat in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He heard the faint shift of movement outside his cabin. She was walking softly through the halls, almost ghost-like. He didn't stop her. He wondered what she was thinking. Did she even trust him? Or was she just waiting for a chance to escape? When he rose the next morning, he found her already in the cargo bay, sitting cross-legged on the floor. In her hands, she held a small broken tool from his workshop, spinning it slowly as if it was a puzzle. Joran crouched beside her. That's no toy. It's useless. Doesn't even work anymore. Her fingers moved carefully, pressing here, twisting there. A faint light pulsed from her skin into the tool. Sparks flickered. The dead metal whirred for the first time in years. Joran's eyes widened. How the hell? The glow faded. The tool went still again. She placed it on the floor gently, like a sacred thing. Finally, she looked at him. Her lips moved, a single word, quiet but clear. Repair. Joran felt his breath catch. You can fix things? With whatever that is. She nodded once, very slightly. Then her eyes returned to the floor. 100 questions burned in his mind, but before he could ask, the console beeped again. Not an alarm this time. A message. A voice crackled through static. Vessel Wraith's Echo, identify. You are carrying unauthorized cargo. Prepare for inspection. Joran froze. His heart hammered. Unauthorized cargo? They weren't even trying to hide what they were after. He turned to the woman. Her face had gone pale. The glowing patterns dimmed as if her body was shrinking into itself. Who are they? Joran demanded. Tell me now. Her eyes met his, wide with fear. Her voice was barely a whisper, broken but sharp. Hunters. The ship shook as something latched onto the hull. Joran's hands clenched the console. His silent passenger had brought death to his door, and yet, as he looked at her trembling form, he knew one thing. He could not give her up. First words. First danger. The ship rattled as the docking clamps locked onto the hull. Metal groaned and warning lights flashed across the control panel. Captain Joran gritted his teeth and slammed a fist against the console. Damn it. They found us fast. The alien woman stood frozen in the cargo bay, her eyes wide, her glowing skin patterns flickering like a fading signal. She looked smaller somehow, as if she wanted to disappear. Joran spun toward her, Hunters? Who are they? Why are they after you? Her lips trembled. No answer. He stepped closer, his voice sharp. You need to tell me. Now. My life is tied to yours, whether you like it or not. Finally, she whispered, broken words sliding slowly from her mouth. Slavers. They want me. Her voice cracked like glass. The word slavers made Joran's blood boil. He had seen their kind before. Men who chased profit through chains and cages. He cursed under his breath. Of course. Figures I pulled trouble right into my ship. The docking clamps tightened. A hollow thunk echoed through the corridors. Someone or something was boarding. Joran grabbed his old blaster from under the console. The weapon was scratched, parts taped together, but it still fired. He checked the charge, half full. Enough for one fight, maybe. He glanced at her again. She was shaking, hugging herself, whispering words in her own tongue, too fast to understand. Listen, he said, softer now. I don't know what they want with you, but I'm not handing you over. Not after dragging you out of that pod. Her golden eyes flicked up to his. She stared at him for a long moment as if testing his words. Then, in a trembling voice, she asked, Why? You know me. Joran gave a humorless laugh. I don't need to know you. I just know what those bastards do. And I won't be part of it. The ship jolted. The sound of boots hit the metal floor outside the airlock. The hunters had arrived. Joran aimed his blaster at the door. Stay behind me, the airlock hissed. Smoke poured into the room. Shapes emerged through it. 3 armored figures, masks hiding their faces, weapons glowing with red energy. Their leader stepped forward, tall, broad, his voice harsh through the helmet. Captain Joran, you have property that does not belong to you. Hand her over and you live. Joran spat on the floor. She's not property. The leader raised his weapon. Wrong answer. Blaster fire lit the room. Joran dove behind a crate, shot sizzling past his head. He returned fire, the recoil slamming into his shoulder. 1 hunter fell, but 2 pressed forward, their armor strong enough to take the hit. The alien woman screamed, crouching low. Her skin patterns blazed bright, glowing lines racing across her arms and chest. Energy crackled in the air around her like static before a storm. Joran saw it, even in the chaos. His breath caught. 1 hunter turned toward her, gun aimed. Target in sight! Before Joran could react, the woman raised her hands. A burst of golden light exploded from her palms, slamming into the hunter. He flew back, crashing into the wall with a sickening crunch. His weapon clattered to the floor, smoking. Silence followed for half a second. Joran stared, wide-eyed. She had done that with no weapon, no machine, just herself. The leader growled and advanced, blade igniting in his hand, glowing crimson. So it's true. The starborn witch lives. The woman trembled, whispering, No witch. Her voice was broken, desperate. Joran pushed up from cover, firing again. His shot grazed the leader's armor, forcing him back. Stay away from her. The leader snarled and pressed a button on his wrist. Reinforcements inbound, Joran's heart dropped. More would come. He grabbed the woman's arm. We have to move now. She hesitated, her eyes glowing like suns. For a second, Joran thought she might resist, might collapse in fear, but then slowly she nodded. Together they sprinted down the narrow halls of the ship. Sparks rained from the ceiling where stray blasts had struck. Joran pulled her into the cockpit, slamming the hatch shut. He dropped into the pilot's chair and hammered the controls. Come on. Engines roared to life, shaking the ship. The clamps outside groaned as he forced power into the thrusters. Metal screamed as the Wraith's echo ripped free from the hunter's hold. Outside the window, the dark void split with streaks of enemy ships, their red lights flashing like hungry eyes. Joran glanced at her. She sat beside him now, chest heaving, golden eyes still glowing. She whispered only one word, Run. He pulled the lever. Stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped into faster than light. But in his gut, Joran knew this was only the beginning. The hunt begins. The stars stretched into endless white lines as the Wraith's echo leapt into faster than light travel. The ship rattled, old engines straining under the pressure. Captain Joran gripped the controls with steady hands, though sweat rolled down his face. For a moment, only the hum of the engines filled the silence. Then Joran exhaled long and heavy. We made it, but he knew better. Hunters never stopped. If they had tracked her once, they would track her again. The alien woman sat in the co-pilot's chair, knees pulled to her chest. Her glowing patterns dimmed back to faint lines, her golden eyes staring into the endless blur of light outside the window. She looked exhausted but not broken. Joran leaned back. "You going to tell me the truth now?" She blinked slowly as if fighting sleep. "Truth?" He frowned. "Who you are. Why they're after you. What you really are. Because slavers don't send warships after just anyone." Her lips parted, but for a long time she said nothing. Then finally, "I was taken. Long ago, I escaped. Taken from where?" Joran asked. Her eyes flicked toward him, then away again. Home, a world, gone now. Joran's chest tightened. He had seen it before. Whole planets stripped bare by war or greed. But the way she said it, soft and broken, told him her pain ran deeper. "They hunt me," she whispered. "They want me back. I am not theirs." Joran studied her face, her glowing lines. He remembered the burst of golden light that had hurled a hunter across the cargo bay. "You're special," he said. "That's why. You're more than just a runaway slave, aren't you?" Her silence was answer enough. Joran rubbed his temple. His ship was already weak, his food nearly gone. He had just painted a target on himself so large half the galaxy could see it. He should drop her at the nearest station, wash his hands of her, and disappear. But when he looked at her, tired, frightened, but still holding herself with quiet strength, he knew he couldn't. The scanner beeped. Joran's head snapped to the screen. A faint red mark blinked behind them. His stomach sank. "They're tracking us." The woman's eyes widened. "No escape?" Joran's jaw clenched. "There's always escape. Just not easy." He shoved the ship into a sharp dive, dropping them out of faster than light and straight into a dense asteroid field. Rocks the size of cities floated in black space, their jagged edges catching faint starlight. The woman gripped the chair tight as the ship twisted between drifting stone giants. "Danger," she whispered. Joran smirked grimly. "Yeah, but better danger I can see than hunters at my back." The ship shuddered as they scraped past an asteroid's edge. Alarms blared, lights flickered. Joran's hands danced over the controls, his eyes never leaving the shifting field of rocks. Behind them, the scanner lit up again. The hunters had followed. Red blips swarmed closer. Ships with sleek black hulls and glowing crimson engines cutting through the asteroid maze like wolves through snow. "They never stop," the woman whispered, voice trembling. "Good," Joran said. "Then neither do I." He jerked the ship left, engines screaming, weaving through narrow gaps where one wrong move would tear them apart. Lasers flashed past, explosions shaking the rocks. The woman pressed her hands to the console. Her patterns flared bright, golden light spilling across her skin. The ship's systems flickered, then steadied. Energy shields glowed faintly around them, stronger than before. Joran glanced at her, stunned. "You're boosting the shields?" Her face was pale, sweat beading her forehead, but she nodded. "I help," Joran barked a laugh. "All right then, let's make this a fight." He swung the ship around a massive asteroid, engines roaring as he skimmed close enough for sparks to scatter across the hull. The pursuing hunters weren't so lucky. One clipped the rock and spun out of control, exploding in a bright flash. "Ha!" Joran shouted. "That's one down." But 3 more were still on their tail. The woman's glow dimmed, her breathing ragged. She was pushing herself too hard, and Joran knew it. But without her, his shields would collapse in seconds. "Hold on," he muttered. "Just a little longer." He aimed the ship toward the largest asteroid he could see, a fractured giant with a hollow cavern inside. He dove straight into it, engines howling. The hunters followed close behind. The cavern was dark, full of floating debris. Joran switched to manual thrusters, weaving through broken stone as beams of light from the hunters' weapons lit the walls. He gritted his teeth. Come on, come on." At the last moment, he pulled up and shot through a narrow crack at the cavern's far end. The Wraith's echo scraped hard against the rock, sparks flying, but it made it through. The hunters weren't so lucky. The lead ship smashed into the wall, exploding in a fireball that lit the cavern like a false sunrise. The other 2 scattered, losing their lock. Joran whooped, adrenaline pounding. "We're still alive." But when he looked at the woman, his smile faded. She slumped in her chair, skin glowing faintly but weak, eyes half closed. "Hey." Joran leaned closer. "Stay with me. Don't burn yourself out." She blinked slowly, her voice soft as a sigh. "You save me, I save you." Then her head dropped forward, unconscious but still breathing. Joran gripped the controls tighter. He had escaped the hunters for now, but the cost was growing heavier. His ship was damaged. His fuel was low. His food was almost gone, and now the one person who could keep him alive was burning herself away to protect him. He stared out at the drifting asteroids, his jaw tight. "They want her," he whispered. "They'll have to go through me first." The hunt was only beginning. Battle among the stars. The Wraith's Echo limped through the asteroid belt, its engines coughing like a dying beast. Sparks crackled from the panels above Captain Joran's head, and warning lights blinked across his console. He cursed under his breath. "Shields at 20%. Hull breach on deck 3. Fuel, don't even ask." Beside him, the alien woman still lay slumped in the co-pilot's chair. Her chest rose and fell slowly, each breath heavy. Her glowing skin patterns dimmed to a faint shimmer. Joran kept glancing at her, checking that she was still alive. "She saved us back there," he muttered, "and now I need to save her." But the hunters weren't done. The scanner blinked red again. 3 ships closing in fast. Joran's jaw tightened. "Figures. Wolves don't give up once they taste blood." He slammed a hand on the console. "Wake up, Echo, give me one more fight." The engines roared back to life, straining against their damage. Joran pulled the ship out of the asteroid field and into open space. Stars glittered cold around them, and in the distance the crimson glow of hunter ships grew larger. They spread out, boxing him in. "No escape this time," the comm crackled. The hunter's leader spoke again, his voice cold and sharp. "Captain Joran, last chance. Surrender the girl or die screaming." Joran barked a bitter laugh. "Yeah, come and try." He killed the comm and punched the thrusters. The Wraith's Echo surged forward, weaving between enemy fire. Red beams scorched past, missing by inches. The old ship shook with every evasive turn, its metal groaning in protest. The alien stirred at last, eyes half opening. Golden light flickered faintly in her gaze. She whispered, "They come." Joran gave a quick nod. "I see them. Stay down. I'll handle this." But she shook her head weakly. Her hands lifted, trembling. Light sparked at her fingertips. "No. Together." Before Joran could protest, her skin lit up again, golden lines racing across her arms like fire. The ship's systems surged as if given new life. Shields flared bright, weapons charged faster than they had in years. Joran's eyes widened. "You're powering the ship?" Her voice was weak but steady. "We fight together." Joran grinned. "All right then. Let's make them regret chasing us." The first hunter ship swooped in, cannons blazing. Joran rolled the Echo hard, dodging fire, then swung the ship's old railgun around and fired. The shot tore through the enemy's wing, spinning it off course. "Ha!" Joran shouted. "Still works." The second hunter moved in fast, trying to flank him. Joran dove under, flying low and fast. The alien pressed her glowing hands against the console, and the shields absorbed the next blast like water on stone. Her golden light spread across the controls. The ship felt lighter, faster, more alive than ever before. Joran's grin widened. "Let's show them what a dying ship and a half-dead pilot can do." He pulled the ship into a tight spin, lining up the second hunter. "Hold steady. Steady." He fired. The railgun screamed, and the shot slammed into the hunter's core. The ship erupted in a fireball, shards of metal scattering like sparks across the stars. "That's 2 down," Joran roared, but the leader was still there. His black ship loomed ahead, larger and stronger than the others, red lights glowing like burning eyes. The comm crackled again. "Impressive. But you cannot protect her forever. She belongs to us." The alien's eyes flashed. She whispered, voice trembling but fierce, "I belong to no one." Her glow flared brighter than ever, filling the cockpit with golden light. The Echo system surged to full power, stronger than Joran had ever seen. The leader's ship fired a massive beam, crimson light ripping through space. Joran yanked the controls, dodging barely in time, the blast searing past them. "Damn it," he muttered. "One hit like that and we're gone." The woman pressed harder, her whole body shaking as she poured energy into the ship. The shields flared golden, wrapping the vessel in her light. Joran's eyes narrowed. "All right, big guy. Let's dance." He pushed the engines to max, diving straight at the leader's ship. The hunter unleashed another blast, but this time the shields held. Golden energy rippled across the hull, deflecting the beam. "Now," Joran shouted, slamming the trigger. The Echo's railgun roared, firing shot after shot, each one burning through the enemy's armor. The leader's ship rocked under the assault, sparks and fire spilling from its sides. The alien screamed, her glow blazing like a star. The shields expanded outward, a wave of golden energy that slammed into the hunter's ship. Metal twisted, engines burst, and the vessel spun helplessly into the void. Then, silence. Only the hum of the Echo's engines remained. The last hunter ship drifted, broken and burning, swallowed by the endless dark. Joran let out a shaky laugh. We did it, he turned to her. She slumped back in her chair, golden light fading to faint flickers. Her eyes closed, her voice barely a whisper. Safe now? Joran looked out at the wreckage, his jaw tight. Safe, for now. He leaned back, staring at the stars. His ship was damaged. His supplies were gone, and the hunters would not stop. Not until they had her. But as he looked at her sleeping form, he knew one thing. He had made his choice, and he would fight the whole galaxy if he had to. For the first time in years, Captain Joran wasn't just surviving. He was protecting someone who mattered, and that made him dangerous. A new bond, a new journey. The wreckage of the hunter's ship drifted slowly into the void, pieces glowing faint red as they cooled. Silence filled the cockpit of the Wraith's Echo. Only the faint hum of the engines remained, old but steady. Captain Joran leaned back in his chair, chest rising and falling with exhaustion. His hands trembled from the fight, his shoulders heavy with the weight of survival. He glanced at the scanner. No more red signals. For now, the sky was clear. Beside him, the alien woman lay slumped in her seat. Her glowing patterns had faded almost completely, leaving her skin pale. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Joran reached over and touched her wrist lightly, checking for a pulse, warm, alive. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. You did it, he whispered. We both did. For a long time, he just sat there staring at her. His ship was broken, his fuel nearly gone, his food down to crumbs. But he felt something he hadn't felt in years, and he wasn't alone anymore. The woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, dim gold light glowing faintly in their depths. She looked at him, weak but aware. Joran smiled faintly. Welcome back. Her lips curved just slightly. We live? He chuckled. Barely, but yeah. We live. She sat up slowly, wrapping her arms around herself as if cold. Her gaze moved to the stars outside the window, endless, silent, waiting. What now? She asked softly, her voice still broken but clearer than before. Joran looked out with her. Good question. I don't have fuel to run forever. And the hunters will be back. They always come back, her golden eyes flicked toward him. You could leave me, alone, safe. He shook his head at once. No, you'd never be safe out there, and He hesitated, the words heavy in his throat. I won't leave you. Not after this. Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't the cold silence from before. It was something warmer, something fragile. She lowered her gaze, then whispered, Thank you. Joran shrugged, though his chest tightened with the weight of her words. Don't thank me yet. We've got a long road ahead. He stood, moving to the back of the cockpit. From a small cabinet, he pulled out his last ration bar and broke it in half. He handed one piece to her. Not much, but it'll keep us alive a little longer. She accepted it, her fingers brushing his as she took it. For the first time, she ate slowly, calmly, as though she trusted the food. And him. As they ate in silence, the ship groaned, systems failing one by one. A warning light blinked, fuel critical. Engines unstable, Joran sighed. Figures. If we don't find a station soon, we'll be drifting until we freeze. The woman closed her eyes, placing one glowing hand against the console. Golden light spread into the ship, faint but steady. The warning lights flickered, then softened. Not gone, but better. Her voice was soft. I can hold it, for a while. He stared at her, then shook his head. You've already done enough. You'll burn yourself out if you keep this up. She opened her eyes, and for the first time he saw something fierce in them. You risk for me. I risk for you. Joran couldn't argue. He gave a small nod. Fair enough. They drifted in silence again, the stars sliding slowly past. Somewhere out there, he knew the hunters were regrouping. He knew more would come, but he also knew this. He wasn't afraid anymore. After a while, the woman spoke again, her words halting but clearer. You fight for me. Why? Joran leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars. Because no one else would. Because you deserve a chance, and because I was tired of being alone. Her golden eyes softened. She reached across the space between them and touched his hand gently. Her voice was a whisper, fragile but firm. Not alone. Not now. Joran's throat tightened. He turned his hand and gripped hers in return. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The stars kept moving, endless and bright. Finally, Joran cleared his throat. All right. Here's the deal. We're going to fix this ship, find fuel, maybe steal from someone who deserves it. And when the hunters come, because they will, we'll fight. Together. The woman nodded slowly. Together, Joran gave a tired grin. Good. Then let's see how far we can take this mess of a ship. The wraith's echo groaned again, but Joran swore he could almost feel it smiling with him. For years it had carried only him, empty, silent. Now it carried something more, a new bond, a new purpose. The scanners blinked faintly again, distant signals on the edge of space. Not hunters this time, not yet, but something else. A station maybe, a world, a chance. Joran's grin widened. Looks like we've got our first destination. The alien leaned back in her chair, eyes closing again, her voice soft but certain. Not alone, she whispered once more. And for the first time in his long, wandering life, Joran believed it. The hunters would return. Trouble would follow. But the journey had begun, and this time he wasn't walking it alone.